Today we continue our study of death relinking thought process. Now the section 38, page 223, objects of sense sphere rebirth consciousness. So we already have gone through the death relinking thought process. So you can see in this thought process there are only 5 jhana moments. So the manual says here, in the death proximate cognitive process. So this process is called death proximate cognitive process or death proximate thought process. Although it is called death proximate, near death, death is also included in this thought process, and also the rebirth in the future life and the bhavangas following, and one thought process that follows the bhavangas is also included in this thought process. This is how our teachers taught in our country. In thought processes like this, only 5 feebly occurring jhanas should be expected. So here a person is just close to death. So his physical body or the material properties in the body are now very weak. So since the heart is weak, the jhanas are not strong enough to run for 7 moments as usual, and so in this thought process and in thought processes like this, that is death relinking thought processes, the jhanas occur only 5 times. Therefore, when death takes place while present objects are occurring and have entered the avenue of sense, what this means is, while present objects which have entered the avenue of sense are still existing. In this thought process, the present visible object Kn, now it is still existing when the relinking consciousness arises. So while the present objects which have entered the avenue of sense, that means which have come into the view of the eye, the ear, and so on, are still existing, then the rebirth linking and life continuum of the new existence also take a present object. So in this thought process, the present visible object is still going on when patisandhi arises. So in this thought process, not only patisandhi but bhavanga number 1 and bhavanga number 2 also takes the present visible object. In the case of a sense sphere rebirth linking, in the karma vajra patisandhi, when the object is a sign of karma or a sign of destination perceived at any of the 6 doors, that object may be present or it may be past. So it can be the present or it can be past. That means the object of patisandhi can be present or past. So in this thought process, the object of patisandhi is present. But if there follow after jhavanas 2 the dharamana moments and then also bhavanga moments, then the present visible object will disappear with the bhavanga preceding the death consciousness. Or the present visible object will disappear with the disappearance of death consciousness. So let us say there is Juti. If the present visible object disappears with Juti, then at Patisandhi it has become past. So the objects of a Kama Vajra Patisandhi can be present or it can be past. And it is a sign of karma or a sign of destination. Karma is always past. Karma is what one acquired through life, and so karma is always past. But sign of karma and sign of destination can be past or present or future. So here, let's say it is present, and in this thought process, it lasts until the end of the second bhavanga. So in this particular thought process, the relinking consciousness and bhavanga 1 and bhavanga 2 following it take the present object, and bhavanga 3 takes the visible object or KN, and that has become past now. But karma as object is only past, and it is perceived only at the mind door. Karma cannot be seen with eyes. Karma is, as you know, the volition, which is a mental state, and so it can be perceived only through the mind door. All these objects of sense sphere rebirth are limited phenomena only. Limited phenomena means Kama Vajra objects only. Now when describing the objects in the third chapter, the author gave us 6 kinds of objects. And also the objects are classified as Kama Vajra object, Rupa Vajra object, Arupa Vajra object. So Kama Vajra object means 54 Kama Vajra Chetas, 52 Chetasikas, and 28 Rupas. So they are called Kama Vajra object. So the object of the Kama Vajra rebirth is limited phenomena only, and that belong to Kama Vajra only. So it may be Kama Vajra Cheta or Chetasikas going along with it, or one of the 28 Rupas or material properties. So this thought process is just one of many thought processes that can arise at the end of the life of a being, and this is for a Kama Vajra being. Now, in the case of rebirth linking in the fine material sphere, in the case of rebirth in the Rupa Vajra sphere, the object is a concept and is always a sign of karma. When a person gets jhana, the object of that jhana is a concept. It is not ultimate reality. The mental image of, let us say, the earth disk, not the earth disk itself, but the mental image of it. So that mental image is in the mind of the person, and so it is not an ultimate reality. It is called a concept, or in Pali, panyati. So since the jhana consciousness takes the concepts as object, the result of the jhana takes that concept as object. Now that is first jhana here. So first jhana takes how many objects as object? How many? You have to go back to the third chapter. Okay, so let us say it takes the mental image of earth kasina as object. So, and then this Rupa Vajra Kusala produces the Rupa Vajra Vipaka. So the Rupa Vajra Vipaka first jhana is the result of Rupa Vajra Kusala first jhana. Since the Kusala takes the concept as object, the resultant consciousness also takes the concept as object. So there are many kinds of objects. There are 10 kasinas and 10 foulness of the body and so on. And it's always a sign of karma. So that is a sign of karma. Not the karma itself and not the sign of destination. So it is called sign of karma. The same with the second, third, fourth and fifth Rupa Vajra jhana resultant consciousness. So too in the case of rebirth linking in the immaterial sphere. So with the four of the Arupa Vajra Vipaka Cetas, the object, which may be a sublime state or a concept, whichever is appropriate, is always a sign of karma. Also, they take the sign of karma as object. Now here, it is said, which may be a sublime state, which may be a mahagata object, or a concept. The object of the first Arupa Vajra jhana, Kusala, is what? Concept of space. And the object of second jhana is the first jhana, consciousness. So when we say concept of space, then object is concept. But when the object of the second Arupa Vajra jhana is the first Arupa Vajra jhana, then it is called Mahagata object or sublime object. So number one takes the concept as object, the concept of space. Number two takes the number one citta as object, and so it takes the Mahagata object as object. Then number three, what is the object of number three? Nothingness. Nothingness of the first Arupa Vajra consciousness. So nothingness is also a concept. So the number three takes concept as object, and then number four. Number four takes the number three citta as object. So number two and number four take Mahagata object as object, and number one and number three take concept as object. So the object of number one is concept of space, and object of number three is nothingness of the first Arupa Vajra jhana consciousness. So as the case may be, or whichever is appropriate, the object of the Arupa Vajra Patisandhi is a sublime state or a concept. Whether it is a sublime state or a concept, it is always a sign of karma. When a person tries to get the Arupa Vajra jhana, he must already have obtained the 5 Rupa Vajra jhanas. And after that, when he wants to attain the Arupa Vajra jhana, he practices meditation and taking the object of the 5th jhana as object. Suppose the object of 5th jhana is the earth disk, or the mental image of earth disk. Then he takes that mental image of earth disk as object and then concentrate on that object, saying earth, 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 so on. And then after he gets into the practice, he stops paying attention to that object. So when he stops paying attention to that object disappears from his mind. When it disappears, it leaves a vacuum, it leaves a space in his mind. Now he takes that space as the object of his attention. because this person is the one who hates rupa, who doesn't like rupa. So if he doesn't like rupa, he also doesn't like which is the image of rupa. So he tries to get rid of that image by not paying attention to it. So he stops paying attention to the mental image of the earth disk, and so it disappears, leaving a space. So now he concentrates on that space in his mind and practice meditation, saying infinite space, and so on. And so when his meditation becomes mature, then he gets the first arupa vajrajhana. So the first arupa vajrajhana takes that space as object. So that space is not an ultimate reality, it is just in his mind, and so it is a concept. When that person gets the second arupa vajrajhana, first arupa vajrajhana is no more, it has disappeared. So when he wants to get the third jhana, he concentrates on the nothingness or absence of the first arupa vajrajhana. Now he has obtained the second arupa vajrajhana, but he has lost the first arupa vajrajhana. First arupa vajrajhana is not in existence at that time. So he takes the non-existence of first arupa vajrajhana as object of his meditation. And when he gets the third jhana, the object of that third jhana is the nothingness of the first arupa vajrajhana. So the first arupa vajrajhana and the third arupa vajrajhana take concept as object. But the second and the fourth arupa vajrajhana take the ultimate reality as objects. Because when a person, after getting the first arupa vajrajhana, wants to get the second arupa vajrajhana, then he takes the first arupa vajrajhana as object of his meditation. Now he will say the first arupa vajrajhana is infinite, or infinite consciousness, and so on. So when he gets the second arupa vajrajhana, that arupa vajrajhana takes the first arupa vajrajhana as object. So the object of the second arupa vajrajhana is a mahagata object. That means a paramata object, an ultimate reality. And after getting the third arupa vajrajhana, if he wants to go further, then he takes the third arupa vajrajhana consciousness as object. So he practices meditation on that third arupa vajrajhana citta, and when he gets the fourth arupa vajrajhana citta, that fourth arupa vajrajhana citta takes the third arupa vajrajhana citta as object. So the second and the fourth take the mahagata object, because the jhanas belong to the category of mahagata or sublime objects. So here the manual says, which may be a sublime state or a concept, whichever is appropriate, so as the case may be, a sign of karma. So this is the objects of rupa vajra rebirth and arupa vajra rebirth. So when a person is reborn in rupa vajra realm, he will be reborn with one of the 5 rupa vajra resultant consciousness. Now you all know that if he is to be reborn, or if he is reborn in the first rupa vajra jhana plane, then the first rupa vajra jhana resultant consciousness will function as Patisandhi, Bhavanga and Jyoti. The same with the other types of consciousness. So if he is to be reborn in the fifth Rupa Vajrajana plane, then his rebirth consciousness will be the fifth Rupa Vajrajana resultant consciousness. But during life, he can experience other types of consciousness. Even the Kamavajra consciousness a Brahma can experience. So when a person is reborn as a Arupa Vajra Brahma, bodiless Brahma or immaterial Brahma, then if he is reborn in the first of the Arupa Vajra realm, then his rebirth consciousness will be the first Arupa Vajrajana resultant consciousness. The same with the second, third and fourth. So these types of consciousness will function as Patisandhi, Bhavanga and Jyoti for him in that life. But during lifetime, he may experience some other types of Kamavajra consciousness also. Now, the manual teaches us what rebirths follow what death. So, it is on page 226, section 40, determination of rebirth. When one passes away from an immaterial realm, one may be reborn in superior immaterial realms, but not in lower immaterial realms, and also in the sensuous plane with a three-rooted rebirth consciousness. Now what patisandhis can follow the Arupa Vajra death? It says, when one passes away from an immaterial realm, so he begins with the immaterial Brahmas. So when an immaterial Brahma dies, his death consciousness will be one of these, depending on which realm he is in. So these will function as death consciousness for him. So after death, there must come Patisandhi. So what Patisandhi can follow the death of the Arupa Vajra Brahma? So here it says, one may be reborn in superior immaterial realms, but not in lower immaterial realms. So when a person gets to the, let us say, second Arupa Vajra realm, he is unable to get into the first Arupa Vajra jhana. So when he dies, he may be reborn in the same realm or in the upper realms, but not in the lower realms. So a person who dies from the first Arupa Vajra realm may be reborn in first Arupa Vajra realm and also second, third and fourth Arupa Vajra realm. But a Brahma who dies from the second Arupa Vajra realm will not be reborn in first Arupa Vajra realm. So he will be reborn in the second again or in the third and in the fourth. So that is what is meant by saying, but not in lower immaterial realms. So he will be reborn in upper realms but not the lower realms. Or he will be reborn in that realm again. And also, he can be reborn in the sensuous plane, Kamavajra plane, with a three-rooted rebirth consciousness. Three-rooted rebirth consciousness. So what are the three-rooted rebirth consciousness in Kamavajra plane? Now, these are the Kamavajra Patisandhi. How many are Kamavajra Patisandhi? These 8, right? Kamavajra Vibhaga 8, and also 2 investigation, right? So, in the sensuous plane with the 3 rooted rebirth, so he will not be reborn with these 2, and he will not be reborn with two roots. So he will be reborn with three-rooted rebirth consciousness. So after these four, what rebirths can follow? These two. Three-rooted. And these two. Three-rooted. When one passes away from the fine material sphere, that is after the Rupavajara Chuti, these five Rupavajara Vipaka Chetas function as Rupavajara Chuti. So after these, what can follow? One is not reborn without roots. So one is not reborn without roots means one is born with two-root and three-root rebirth. So after death from the Rupavajara realms, a person is reborn with two-root and three-root, but not the rootless. After the five Rupavajara Vipakas, functioning as death, what Patisandhis can follow? Three-root and also two-root. So these eight can follow. That means these eight can function as Patisandhi in the new life. After passing away from a three-rooted existence, human beings, devas and brahmas. So after passing away from three-rooted existence in the sensuous plane, so for Kamavajara only, human beings and six devas, one may be reborn anywhere. Because human beings are capable of the best and the worst. So a human being can become a Buddha, the best of the beings, and also he can do something so that he is reborn in the lowest great hell, Avicii. So after a three-rooted existence in the sensuous plane, a person may be reborn anywhere. So anywhere means all Patisandhis. The rest, that is, those who pass away with two roots and no roots. So after two-root death and no-root death, are reborn only in the sense sphere realms. So they cannot be reborn in the Rupavajara and Arupavajara, because only three-root persons are reborn in the Rupavajara and Arupavajara. So after the two-root and rootless death of Kamavajara, what will follow? Sense sphere realms. Three-root and two-root sense sphere realms. So after two-root and rootless death of Kamavajara, the rebirth is three-root, two-root and no root. So this is a general statement. Just this is already a little difficult to understand. But that is because you may not be familiar with the preceding sections. But if you are familiar with preceding sections, I think this statement is easy to understand. But our teachers taught us not just this general statement, but the detailed ones which Patisandhis can follow which death in a detailed manner. So they are given in the book as well as in the handouts. And there are some corrections to be made, and I don't know whether they are already made in your book. So this we find at the end of this chapter, so page 230. Now number 31, neither perception nor non-perception. That is all life. And then next column is death consciousness. So when death occurs to that person, the fourth arubhavajara resultant consciousness functions as death. He can be reborn in the new realm 5 to 13 and 31. Now these numbers are the numbers of the 31 planes of existence that we studied at the beginning of the 5th chapter. So 5 to 11 means human beings and 6 Deva realms. And 31 means the highest plane. Because he is the highest plane, he will not be reborn in lower arubhavajara planes, and also he will not be reborn in rubhavajara plane. So he will be reborn only in the fourth or highest arubhavajara plane, and his rebirth consciousness in those planes can be fourth arubhavajara resultant and 3 root kamavajara resultant. There are 4 of them. So whether you look at the chart in the book or in the handout, they are the same. But in the handout, I use Pali, and in the book, the English is used. But they are the same. So you may look at both. So in the handout, we say fourth arubhavajara vipaka, fourth 3 root kamavajara vipaka, and so on. They are the same. Now from the 30th plane, the plane of nothingness, a Brahma dies from that plane. So when he dies, the third arubhavajara vipaka consciousness functions as death consciousness for him, and then he can be reborn in again 5 to 11, 30 and 31. Not in the lower arubhavajara plane and rubhavajara plane. And his rebirth consciousness will be third and fourth arubhavajara vibhaka consciousness, and also 3 rooted kamavajara vibhaka consciousness. And there are 4 of them. And then number 29, infinite consciousness. This is the second arubhavajara realm. So a Brahma dies from that realm with second arubhavajara vibhaka consciousness, and he can be reborn in 5 to 11, 29 to 31. And his rebirth consciousness can be second to fourth arubhavajara vibhaka and 3 rooted kamavajara vibhaka. So since it is 3 rooted, there are only 4 of them. Then number 28, this is the first arubhavajara realm. A Brahma who dies from that realm dies with first arubhavajara vibhaka consciousness as death consciousness, and he can be reborn in the kamavajara 5 to 11 and then 28 to 31. Since his realm is the lowest arubhavajara, he can be reborn in that arubhavajara number 28, and also he can be reborn in 29, 30 and 31. And his rebirth consciousness will be first to fourth arubhavajara vibhaka consciousness, and also when he is reborn in 5, 11 and so on, 3 rooted kamavajara vibhaka consciousness. Now number 22, non-recipient. Mindless being. Since he is mindless being, when he dies from that realm, there is no death consciousness. He can be reborn in 5 to 11. Because a non-percipient being is like a statue, and so he does not get any jhanas, he cannot experience any jhanas in that realm. So he is in that realm for 500 world cycles like a statue with no mental activity. So when he dies, because of the power of the jhana he practiced before, he is not reborn in 4 woeful states. So he is reborn in 5 to 11 as human being or as devas. And so the Patisandhi consciousness will be great Kama Vajra resultant, all 8. No, Kama Vajra 2 root and 3 root, Kama Vajra resultant. So all 8 Kama Vajra resultant. Now number 21. I hope you have made the corrections there. So great reward. This is the 5th jhana realm. So when a Brahma dies from that realm, he dies with 5th Rupa Vajra Vipaka consciousness, or 5th Rupa Vajra Vipaka consciousness functions as death consciousness. And that consciousness is, or that Brahma is reborn in 5 to 22, and then 28 to 31. Because here we are dealing with worldlings or Putthujanas. So a Puttujana cannot be reborn in the 5 pure abodes. So we have to exclude these 5 pure abodes from other realms. So not from 5 to 31, but from 5 to 22 and from 28 to 31. And his rebirth consciousness will be the Kama Vajra Vipaka, 8 Kama Vajra Vipaka and 5 Rupa Vajra Vipaka and 4 Arupa Vajra Vipaka. Because 28 to 31 means both Rupa Vajra and Arupa Vajra realms. And then number 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, up to 12 are the same. But since it is on the new page, we have to make correction for number 14. So there also it should not be 5 to 31, but 5 to 22 and 28 to 31. The rebirth consciousness are the same. And now we come down to number 11, Kama Vajra, the highest of the 6 Deva realms. So when a Deva from that realm, Paranimita Vasavati, dies, he dies with 2-rooted Kama Vajra Vipaka or 3-rooted Kama Vajra Vipaka. Because the Devas can be 2-rooted persons as well as 3-rooted persons. So when his death consciousness is 2-rooted Kama Vajra Vipaka, he will be reborn in number 1 to 11. So he can go down to hell from the Deva realm. And his rebirth consciousness will be 8 Kama Vajra Vipaka consciousness and also 2 investigation consciousnesses. If his death consciousness is 3-root Kama Vajra Vipaka, then he can be reborn in 1 to 22 and 28 to 31. And the rebirth consciousness, all possibilities except pure abodes, all possibilities except Suddhavasas, because he is still a worldling here, and so he cannot be reborn in the 5 pure abodes. Then number 10, same as number 11. 9, 8, 7, same as number 11. Now number 6, when a person dies from number 6, Chatu Maharajika, his death consciousness can be wholesome resultant investigation, Santirana, or 2-root Kamavajara Vibhaga, or 3-root Kamavajara Vibhaga. So when his death consciousness is wholesome resultant investigation, Santirana, then he can be reborn in 1 to 11. And his rebirth consciousness in those realms will be 8 Kamavajara Vibhaga Chetas and 2 investigation consciousnesses. If his death consciousness is 2-rooted Kamavajara Vibhaga, 4 of them, then the same, he can be reborn in 1 to 11, and his rebirth consciousness will be 8 Kamavajara Vibhagas and 2 Santiranas. But if his death consciousness is 3-root Kamavajara Vibhaga, then he can be reborn in 1 to 22 and 28 to 31. So the rebirth consciousness, all possibilities except pure abodes. Then human beings are the same as Chatu Maharajika. So human beings can be born in, the worldling human beings can be born in 1 to 22, 28 to 31, and the rebirth consciousness, all possibilities except pure abodes. Now we come to the 4 woeful states. Asura Kaya. Since they take rebirth with unwholesome resultant investigation, their death consciousness is the same. So unwholesome resultant investigation. And they can be reborn in 1 to 11. So a person who is reborn as an Asura can be reborn as a human being, as devas, or can go to hell. And his rebirth consciousness will be 8 Kamavajara Vibhagas and 2 investigation consciousness. The same with the beta, the hungry ghost, the animal, and hell beings. So this is the different rebirths following different deaths. So from this chart we understand that a person who dies from a certain realm can be reborn in this and this realms. And also we know which type of consciousness function as death consciousness and rebirth consciousness. So this is for worldlings or Putthojanas. The next table is a table for trainees. Now in the handout, I want you to make a correction. The heading, duties followed by Patisandhis for, now you see 4 areas. So you strike out area and put another word, S-E-K-K-H-A-S, Sikhas, S-E-K-K-H-A-S. Now Sikhas are translated as trainees because they are still training to get the highest attainment, highest enlightenment. Now you know that there are 8 noble persons or 8 Ariya persons. Number 1 is the person at the moment of Sotapatti Magga or the first Magga, and number 2 is the person from the moment of Sotapatti Phala until just before he reaches the second Magga, and so on. So there are 8 persons. Among these 8 persons, the first 7 are called trainees, seekers. The last one, an arahant, is called a-seekers. So whenever you find the word a-seeker or non-trainee, please understand that means an arahant. So trainees here means they may be sotapannas, sakadagamis, and anagamis. So for them, there is a little difference. Now, the first one, neither perception nor non-perception. Now, his death consciousness is same, fourth arupa vajra vipaka, but he will be reborn in 31 only. Since he is a noble person, he will not go down again. He will not be reborn in lower worlds, either rupa vajra realms or kama vajra realms. He will be reborn in 31, he will be reborn in that realm again if he does not become an arahant. So if he becomes an arahant, then there is no rebirth. And when he is reborn in that realm again, then his rebirth consciousness is fourth arupa vajra vipaka. So the same with 30, 29 and 28. So an Ariya Brahma, a trainee Brahma who dies from the nothingness realm, dies with third arupa vajra jhana vipaka, and he can be reborn in 30 again or in 31, but not lower down. And so his rebirth consciousness will be third arupa vajra vipaka or fourth arupa vajra vipaka. So similarly with 29 and 28. Now 27. Highest pure abode. You know there are five pure abodes. And who are reborn in pure abodes? Anagamis. Only anagamis are reborn in pure abodes. No sotapannas, no sakadagamis, no putujanas. So the highest of the pure abodes are all fifth jhana planes. So for them, the fifth rupa vajra vipaka ceta functions as patisanti, bhavanga, and also juti. So when that Brahma dies, he dies with fifth jhana rupa vajra vipaka consciousness. And it is said that a noble person who dies from the highest pure abode is not reborn anywhere. That means he will surely become an arahant in that life. He will be reborn there as an anagami. And during life in the highest pure abode, he will reach arahantship. So for him, there is no more rebirth, and so no rebirth consciousness for him again. And for number 26, clear-sighted, it is also pure abode, the same fifth jhana vipaka consciousness, and he can be reborn in 21, because they will go up until they reach number 27. And then 27 is the highest they will reach, and then they attain arahantship there and get out of samsara. So when he is reborn in number 27, then his rebirth consciousness will be fifth rupa vajra jhana vipaka consciousness. And then number 25, beautiful abode. So for them, the death consciousness is the same, and the realms they can be reborn are 26 and 27. So the higher ones. And then serene abode, they can be reborn in 25 to 27, and durable abode, they can be reborn in 24 to 27. So this is for pure abodes. For anagamis, say, who are reborn there. there is a saying in the manual that anagamis are reborn in pure abodes only. But there is a saying that it does not mean that anagamis are reborn in pure abodes only. They may be reborn in other realms also. So, anagamis only are reborn in pure abodes. But anagamis can be reborn in other realms as well. So that is the common opinion of many teachers. So here they are anagamis, and since they are anagamis, they have very strong samadhi, and so when they reach to the one of the, let us say, the lowest of the pure abodes, then they will just go up, up and up. They will not be reborn in their realm again, and they will not be reborn in the lower realms. Now number 21, great reward. Since he is a trainee, he is an Ariya, noble person. And it is said that noble persons in great reward will be reborn only in that realm again. They will not be reborn in any other realm. And they may become arahants, and there will be no more rebirth for them. But if they do not become arahants, they will be reborn in that realm again, and not in 23 to 31. So please strike out 23 to 31. And then the others, steady aura, since they are trainees or noble persons, no lower realms. So the Brahmas from 20 will be reborn in 20, 21, and then 23 to 31, because 22 to 27 are reserved for anagamis only. So if he is not an anagami, he will not be reborn there. And then infinite aura, 19 to 21, 23 to 31, minor aura, because it is 18, 18 to 21, 23 to 31. And then radiant luster 17, 17 to 21, 23 to 31. And infinite luster again 16 to 21, 23 to 31. Minor luster 15 to 21, 23 to 31. And Mahabrahma 14 to 21, 23 to 31. Mahabrahma belongs to the first jhana plane, and so his death consciousness is first jhana rupa vajra vibhaka consciousness. And since he will be reborn in 14 to 21 and 23 to 31, his rebirth consciousness in the next life can be from 1 to 5 rupa vajra vibhaka consciousness, and also 4 arupa vajra vibhaka consciousness. Now number 13, Brahma's ministers the same, but 13 to 21, 23 to 31. And number 12, Brahma's retinue, because he is a noble person, so he will not be reborn down under, so 12 to 21, 23 to 31. And then Paranimita Vasavati, the highest of the 6 Deva realms. Since he is a noble person, he is a 3-root person. No 2-root person can become an Ariya or a noble person. So his death consciousness is one of the 4 3-root Kama Vajra Vibhaka. And he can be reborn in 5 to 21. So he can be reborn in human world, he can be reborn in the Deva world, and he can be reborn in Brahma world. Now think of the Sagadagami, once returner. Once returner means he reaches second stage of enlightenment as a human being. And then in the next life he will be reborn as a Deva. And then from that he will be reborn as a human being again, so he can come down, not like the Brahmas. So in Paranimitta Vasavadi, a Deva. So a Deva dies with the three-root Kamavajra Vipaka consciousness, and he can be reborn as a human being or as a Deva in one of the 6 celestial realms, and also he can be reborn as a Brahma. So accordingly, the rebirth consciousnesses are three-root Kamavajra Vipaka or Rupa Vajra Vipaka or Arupa Vajra Vipaka. The same with the minority, Tusita, etc. until Chatu Maharajika. So the 6 devas are the same as the Paranimitta. And then human beings who are trainees, who are Sotapannas, Sakadagamis and Anagamis. So for them, when they die, they will die with three-root Kamavajra Vipaka. Only three-root persons become Aryas. So they can be reborn in human beings again, and in Deva realms, and then 23 to 31 Brahma realms. And their rebirth consciousness will be three-root Kamavajra Vipaka consciousness, and so on. Since there are no Aryas in the 4 woeful states, they are not given here. We end with human beings. And in the human world there can be both Puthujjanas and Aryas or noble persons. But in the Apaya or 4 woeful states there can be no Arya persons, there can be only Puthujjanas. So from these charts we know both for Puthujjanas and for Aryas what rebirth will follow their death. And also we know that what Chetas will function as Patisandhi, Bhavanga and Juti for the different persons from this chart. So we'll have a break now.